Lori Bacon.
Sharing a story with others that care about you just might be the best medicine in the world. Let me repeat that. Sharing a story with others who care about you just might be the best medicine in the world. But more times than not, your stories go untold. And that could lead to loneliness and feeling out of touch. But when you do share your stories with others that care about you, you feel low anxiety and high endorphins. So tonight, right here, right now, I should be feeling loved and not nervous at all. Mr. Contest Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and our honored guest. I learned about this theory over the internet. And we all know that everything we read on the internet is true, right?
Right.
Well, tonight, I will be the judge of that. I'm going to share with you all 3 stories, and after I'm through sharing them with you, I'll let you know just how I feel. Many years ago, I was a little girl. I don't know, it's hard to imagine, but yes, once I was a little girl, and it was a long time ago. But back when I was a little girl, I had trouble with my ears. And it wasn't the trouble with needing ear tubes like you hear so much about these days. My ears were just overly sensitive. If I would tap my ear on something or run my hairbrush over my ear, they would become red and throbbing. But my mom was always there to care for me and make me feel better. Back when I was working at the insurance company, I was lucky enough to work in downtown Milwaukee in a building that had its own racquetball court. Do people play racquetball anymore? You know, I don't know if they do. I know pickleball is really popular these days, but I digress. Back to my story. Each week, I would schedule a match of racquetball with a guy by the name of Brian, who just happened to be my boss. And most of the time, I would let him win. Let me explain further. Let me go into a little bit more detail. Brian came up to about here on me. And I am 6 feet tall, and then you add on my freakishly long arms, and then you add on a racquetball racket, and I can actually touch the ceiling here. So you can see, with my height, I thought I had an advantage. Brian would serve, and I could get those low shots, no problem. Those middle ones right here, back side hand, no problem. And the overhead ball, when it would come to me, the overhead slam, no problem at all. So again, I say I had an advantage. Well, in one of our matches, something went terribly wrong. And if you're at all queasy about hearing something yucky, you may want to close your ears. I will not be offended if you feel you need to do it. And I will tell you exactly when I'm going to say it. As I said, one of my matches went terribly wrong. Brian served the ball, and I thought I had plenty of room, and I was ready to swing at this shot. And right as I was ready to get to the ball, my foot slipped. All right, in case you need to. I couldn't reach it, and my knee came out of the socket. Yeah, and every time I practice this speech, over and over and over, I relive that moment. It's not good. All right, but I was lucky that day because Brian had a little bit of a medical background. So he quickly went and got a chair for me. He asked me to sit down. He took a look at my knee. He took his hands like this, and he just simply pushed that kneecap back into place. And the pain went from excruciating to manageable. So that day, Brian took care of me and made me feel better. And finally, over the past 20 years, I've lost 3 incredible men in my life. My father, my brother Danny, and my brother Mark. And if you've ever lost a sibling or a parent, you know the type of agony that I went through. And through each of those tragedies, my husband Rod was there. He took care of me, and he made me feel better. Okay, I've shared my 3 stories with you, so I'm gonna ask myself, self, how do I feel now in sharing my stories in front of a warm, wonderful audience as yourself? I feel great! Thank you so much for listening to the story about my mom and my boss Brian and my husband Rod. They made me feel better and they took care of me. In conclusion, when is the last time you shared a story with someone who cares about you? When is the last time you gave a speech here at our club? I look forward to listening to your stories so you too will know the power, the healing power of sharing a story. Mr. Contest Master.